Horror is a very malleable genre, I think. There are horror movies, from the old classics to the terrifying moderns, scaring the shit out of audiences and carving their way into pop culture. There are horror games, both indie and AAA, that scare the piss out of YouTubers and children alike, and can be purchased as your local Hot Topic for $5.99 plus tax. And then there's the horror online. This form of horror comes with its own genres and styles that change depending on who's making it. There's analog horror like Mandela Catalog and my beloved Local 58. There's creepypastas, which could be of any genre or style, from just text to games to videos. Then there's SCPs, which are like creepypastas but focused entirely on immersion as an in-universe catalog of different entities. There's so much good horror online that it's honestly kind of insane. I've even talked about one before, the Macabre Experiment. Don't watch that video, by the way. But today, I'd like to talk about another horror series that right now is one of my absolute favorites. Lacey! Yay! Now, Lacey is a popular horror series by the creator Ghostura focused on the genre of what's called digital horror. Digital horror is pretty much the horror that can be found in, get this, digital media. What?! So that's old videos where something weird happens, flash games with dark secrets, or fake games entirely. If you need an example, a really good recent piece of digital horror would be the FNAF 1 remake, a game that's supposed to be a remake of the first FNAF game, but everything is designed to feel wrong and really scary and honestly really cool ways. And now I can put FNAF in the tags. Yes! Now, digital horror is something that kind of always existed through videos like Username 666, but it has grown big in recent years, with Lacey being one of the reasons that it did, in my opinion. So let's celebrate this amazing series by going through everything it has to offer. I mean, I got nothing better to do you? So, without further ado, let's get started, beginning with the first and most popular branch, Lacey's Flash Games. These videos are exactly what they say on the tin. Fake flash games that all have a spooky twist, though summing them up like that does them a bit of a disservice, because there's clearly a reason why they blew up like they did. The first one being, of course, the biggest, Lacey's wardrobe. This video opens up on a text screen that explains that Lacey has to get ready for some events, and needs your help to get dressed for all of them, before the screen flashes with a message. Help Lacey? After that, we're thrust into the gameplay, where this seems to be one of those dress-up flash games you always saw around. After making one of the shittest outfits I've ever seen, we see Lacey at the park, but by using the advanced technique of using our eyes, we see that someone's in the shadows, watching her. He says, "I love you, Lacey," before it goes to black, and we're back in her room. The gameplay goes on, making a kind of alright outfit, before we're interrupted by a phone ringing. Picking it up, we get this.
Lacey, did you see my stacks, Lacey? I can't wait to meet up, Lacey. I want to. Have a good time tonight with you, Lacey. Tonight. Bye-bye.
After all that, we get back to the room, but with one difference. The man is outside Lacey's window, watching her as we hear heavy breathing. This goes on as they put Lacey in bunny ears for whatever reason before she's at the mall! Yay! Isn't this so much fun? The screen changes, asking us for help again before we're back in the room for a final time. It's night now, the music dark and sound effects slowed. We hear a knocking at the door, definitely the man again, ready to meet up with Lacey. An outfit starts to get made, but before we can even pick out a top, there's a different text box that states that there is a gift on the doorstep. Getting it gives us this.
Lacey, I'm here. Did you get my gift, Lacey? Did you like it? I'm here. Open the door, my darling. Open the door. Open the fucking door!
Text appears again. Probably them all being Lacey as she begs us to not let her go. But there's no way to help her as she goes outside. What have we done. So, what did we think? Because in my opinion, this is a masterclass in horror and tension building, all built around a story about stalking. The music changes, the transition from day to night as the video goes on, and of course the stalker himself. It's all so well done to show the inherent horror and the very concept of stalking. But that's just this video, and there are 3 others to go. Next up is my personal favorite of these videos, Lacey's Diner. The video opens up on a loading screen and text talking about finding a secret ending in a Lacey Flash game. Given what we know about these games already, it doesn't seem that far off. But it seems we aren't the only ones experiencing these stories anymore, as the text gives some background information and we see how strangely normal this game is at first glance. This isn't like Wardrobe, where the normal gameplay treats you to scares, it's just a cooking Flash game you saw a lot back in the day. However, that changes the second you start to run out of time. The screen changes to red, Lacey's sprite gets all weird, and everything devolves as time slowly runs out. Thankfully, who's ever playing this made addition time, which transitions to a section where you give the food to customers. Again, relatively normal, mostly. But this begs the question, what happens when you actually run out of time? Well, after some moments of Lacey being adorable, we get to see exactly that. We hear a scream, and this image of what appears to be Lacey in a very messy and almost neglected room appears. Someone, or maybe even herself, calling Lacey stupid and a failure, as we see a knife in the corner. The image flickers before it cuts to this, a photo-negative version with just the word fuck written. The customers left. She took too long. We cut to outside the diner as text appears, talking about how this place is all she has left and how unforgiving it is. We're not told that this is Lacey, but I believe that the text both from the room and outside the diner is her. We see a street, and if she says that she fails, she has no other option. We don't know what she means yet, but we get one more shot of what looks like a house, before we suddenly learn what she's planning. So it seems the horror parts are a lose condition, or a failsafe, which is interesting. But it's fair to consider this a secret ending given how easy the game seems to be. But, like the player says, it only gets worse from here. We cut to the second day where the same condition is met, but this time, at 5 seconds, the window goes black and Lacey disappears, only to be replaced with this. It's not clear who exactly this is, but the resemblance suggests that this is either how Lacey really looks or how she views herself. Both could be equally true. But there's no time to think about that as we're suddenly met with this. Again, this could be the real Lacey, as she again calls herself a failure, the text flashing on screen before we get this. The text can't really be made out except for something about being pronounced dead and maybe jumping in a river. But something seems to have happened to Lacey, something that shattered her self-worth and left her with severe trauma. We get another image, a house with text talking about lies parents would tell kids, a face superimposed into the image. The customers left. She ran out of time. Lacey seems to then have a breakdown, for she says that they'll face what they did to her. The same figure being there, before we're met with a kitchen. There's bowls of many different things, and as each is put into the mixing bowl, we get a little snippets to their context. Cigarette butts, probably put out on her as a form of abuse on her thighs and heels. A dead cockroach, representing the bugs that would crawl around her room and that she started to see everywhere, signifying unfit living conditions growing up. Pornography, being something that she says that someone had on a computer. Meth, probably used as a way to cope with the pain and trauma, whatever it may be. a used condom. She talks about an experience here, something traumatic and something I can't say on this platform. But now we know what her trauma could have been. Broken glass, probably used to cut herself, or maybe some kind of incident involving it. It's hard to tell, though I'm leaning towards the former. And finally, a man. The world is cut off, but we can infer what it says. Uncle. The person responsible. Lacey takes the dish to the dining room, where everything's changed. The diner is some kind of video playing. Customers take on a nightmarish appearance. The sounds of slurping being heard as Lacey slowly dishes the food out to these monsters. To the ones she blames for all her pain and anguish. They will all face what they did to her. We get some more pictures in this ending. First is one with the lady strapped down to a chair, seemingly hooked up to a computer, and a close-up of her hand, cables going into her skin. Possibly the creator of these games, feeling trapped in her work, and by a greater extension her life, before we get back to the title screen with the player. We're having fun, right? So much fun indeed! Now, like I said, this is my favorite video in the series. It's in your face and intense, but it never goes too far into just being shocking. There's a meaning to everything. It's also very effective as a horror without being insensitive. It's a fine line, but it manages to walk it and it's just so good. Now, the theme of this video is sexual trauma, and it goes along with the last video's theme of stalking. These sorts of things largely happen to women. Lacey is a woman. So there's a chance that the series theme may be the traumas of womanhood. I feel like that could be the case, but that's just the theory for now, as we make it to the second to last video, Lacey's Pet Shop. Now, this video starts off pretty differently from all the others, and it kind of marks a change in the series, whereas before we would just open on the game, maybe some background on some stuff. Here we open on Lacey as she just pulls up an iPod, and after listening to some tunes, we start an interview. The girl first wants to confirm that the interview was for a thesis before we're shown a site called LaceyGames.com, with the About page naming this girl as Grace. Grace talks for a bit about people spreading lies about the Flash games and that she's not affiliated with them, as we see emails both from a concerned parent and someone else pointing out our player in the direction of the newest game, dated 2007. Now, YouTube came out in 2005, so it's very possible that these videos take place in 07, but that's just speculation. The interview continues with Grace saying that she actually did try one of the games, Lacey's Pet Shop, which seems to be the same game that our player has been pointed to. So with that, it cuts to the game, looking like one of those pet simulator flash games that I'm sure y'all have played before. We see as the player cleans up a dog before the requests start getting stranger and stranger, like painting a cat, putting a bird in boots for the hottest man I've ever seen, and stretching out a hamster's neck. The music shifts as the hamster's neck is pulled to a frankly gross degree before it goes back to normal. And then an old man wants a turtle to have human teeth and, yeah. This video seems to be taking the Lacey's wardrobe approach, with the horror being front and center, before this fucking asshole straight up asks for Lacey to kill a rabbit. The player continues despite Lacey's obvious discomfort before this thing appears. We get a screen saying that the player clicked on the bad dog before something really weird happens. We're transported to a screen-by-screen, point-and-click horror game. There's a bone cat talking about having lost its skin, the sky is orange and red, and there's a house in the center. On the next screen, the player gets the skin back and gives it back to the cat, and oh my god, that's fucking horrible. Inside the house, there's 3 options. The player checks the door first, only to find that it's locked, so goes left instead, where they find the pigs that lead to this. Going right, there's a cage, Lacey begging us to go inside it. Inside the cage, Lacey talks about how she knows that she wasn't forced inside this time, but just that the pain hurts so comfortably. There's also a key in the cage which is used to get upstairs after the picture turned to that same dog again. Behind the upstairs door, there's 3 rooms. Going in the bathroom first, the player clicks on a mirror, which leads to this scene. Back in the hallway, there's 2 more paths to go down. Room 1 leads to a moment where the bad dog slowly crawls out under the bed, leading to another scene that I'll just describe this time. We're transported to the real world, someone talking about how they would like a cat and imagining themselves as Lacey. We have no idea who this is, but it's probably the same person as who is in the mirror. They say they can't, however, because he will look at her, as we see a mangled leg and a hazy eye, possibly talking about a corpse. They talk about going shopping and buying CDs before it cuts to this. The uncle can be seen again, this time with the dog. Mixing this with previous events, maybe the uncle, or this abuser, killed the dog or took her angel away. But that would also mean that this is the same person as in the previous videos. But we can't focus on that because now we have more text. My sweet little doggy, my little angel, I couldn't take it anymore. You can hurt me all you like, but you weren't allowed to take it from me. I will let you fucking rot. This confirms the earlier speculation, but also adds something that was hinted at, that this girl killed the uncle. It's a morbid thought, but she would have the motive between killing our angel and the past abuse we saw in Lacey's diner. We get more shots of the eye and leg before the screen dissolves and the girl falls back, bringing us back to the bedroom. Going back into the hallway, things are different. The walls are blood red and some of the doors look warped, with only one option left. Room 2.
For years he was barking up the wrong tree, worried about his sins becoming too visible on his skin. He always worried about the serious things, but now, when his time is back, I was the dog that bit his neck.
Yeah, So now we know exactly what happened to the uncle. We cut back to the interview, and Grace mentions someone else, Rocio, the co-founder. Her name was actually revealed before in the About Us section of the website. Grace talks about how Rocio was hiding a lot of stuff from her, implying that she was the true creator of these games and therefore is the real Lacey. Grace ends the interview by saying that they split in 2010 and she doesn't know if Rocio is even still alive, before the screen goes all weird and we see the word hello, ending the video.
Hello, it's me, Bonzi Buddy. Previously I helped Lunar whenever she misspoke, but today she forgot to mention the image from the pig room. You see, that image reveals what Lacey did to the uncle, and she wanted to save that for until we found out for suspense, but since she can't re-record anything right now, I'll just do it for her. This image features the dog we have seen the entire video, with text overlaying it. But we only get to see the text for a split second, so I'll just read it out for you now, cause I'm a nice guy like that. I've always known what you are. From the moment you first touched me to when I found myself stepping over remains of your skin glued to the floor. You have no regards. I had none either. You squealed like a pig. Just like a pig. This had been my childhood dream. The one you took from me. I collected all those bruises for years. My spine hurt as if a needle went through each segment. Once I got used to it, I didn't think about it anymore. But you made me think about it forever when you made that mistake. You made a mistake. You took my angel away. This is a very tragic thing, but it also clears up any remaining doubts of both what the uncle did to Lacey, what the uncle did to her angel, and what Lacey did to him in return. And since we now know that Rocio is Lacey, it makes this so much more tragic. It's really effective in that regard, but now that I've helped all of us understand the series a bit better, I'll pass it back off to Lunar so she can continue the video. Bye, friends.
So, that was a lot, but it was good. Hell, it was really good. Though it was a lot more cryptic and kind of weirder than the other two. So much so that I didn't even really know the story until the making of this video. But with this video and the other two, we can piece together some kind of story from these games. Now, I don't think Rocio got eaten or opened some diner, but I do believe that some events, like the abuse of the uncle, the death of the angel, the ultimate killing of the uncle, and the stalking are all events in Rocio's life that she put into the games as a form of coping, or maybe just as a form of venting. With it also being possible that Lacey represents both all her trauma and the version of herself she wishes she could be. Lacey can do whatever she wants. She, in theory, isn't burdened by anything like trauma as a video game kid's mascot, and everything she does is traditionally feminine, like a Barbie doll, and therefore she serves as the perfect outlet for all of Rocio's trauma. So yeah, that's the current theory anyway, but we still have one more video to go, and this one is most different from the others. That being a full deep dive into LaceyGames.com. Fuck yes! The video starts with Lacey's band, The Jammers, singing about the Lacey Games, it being an in-universe ad for the website that ends with a scream. The video then pans out to see Grace and our player, now known as Charlie, once again doing an interview about who we now know as Rocio. Grace calls Rocio cuckoo and mentions how Charlie posted their last interview on YouTube, directly tying it in with the last video. But then, Lacey Games open, and we see an About Us page including these new characters of Maisie and Jay, Lacey's in-universe friends. Charlie mentions that Jay was her favorite, and Grace talks about how Rocio killed her off, before they open Jay's skating game. Ooh, spooky. The game is a pretty basic on-rails platformer, nothing too special, though we do get to see Jay and Maisie paired up again, which is kind of a pattern for these two characters. Another thing to note is that Jay is skateboarding on top of buildings, which seemingly is a pretty dangerous hobby. As the level goes on, Jay keeps skating faster. One of the birds has a weird-ass face, and the game glitches out from time to time, even putting Jay in a dark room and completely deep-frying the completion screen. The final level, though, is where shit finally really goes down. The sky has turned red, the game flickers between screens, the music getting fucked up as Jay goes faster and faster and faster before it finally gives out. Grace and Charlie talk some more about how even though Jay's games were deleted, she started showing up in other ways, leading to, well, this, as we see an email saying, "Careful what you wish for." Suddenly, we're thrust into another game, Lacey's Makeup Salon. This is another pretty standard one, just some makeup game that genuinely looks pretty fun. But during a client, this flashes for just a frame or two, talking about how makeup can hide undesirables with illusion. And during another client, one of the lady's skin starts to melt off, requiring Lacey to fix her, where we see that Lacey is, weirdly enough, wearing gloves. We don't know what it means yet, but keep in mind that every girl has their face neutral and their eyes closed. During a different client, a worm crawls towards them, where Lacey has to remove it, just for this image to flash on screen, talking about how vanity doesn't die, how you're not excused from vanity yet, how you still can't be looking bad, and how Lacey can fix you, showing what looks like a morgue and a decomposing face. It's getting more clear what this really is, but just stick with me for a moment. Another client opens their eyes suddenly, leaving Lacey to need to close them again, giving yet another hint before it flashes with this. The next client doesn't seem to show, before suddenly, there's Jay again. The screen distorts, and we get this. Lacey is a mortuary cosmetologist, someone who helps the bodies of the deceased by doing their makeup, hair, or nails. But Lacey is also feeding delusions that she's actually a salon owner doing makeup for clients in order to cope with her work. But now that she finds Jay's body, she completely falls apart, turning her delusions on herself, thinking she must look beautiful and make her clients beautiful as well, falling back on the beauty standards of women just to cope. She works on Jay, applying makeup with shaky hands before it just falls apart once again. The screen goes red, text stretching and contorting as Jay opens her eyes, and, well... Lacey can't take it anymore. This image flashes as Lacey laments that if Jay only wore makeup, if she only was more feminine, if she hadn't gone skateboarding, she might still be alive now. The image says that Lacey wanted to cry, but she just smiled because it didn't matter. That Jay needs to look pretty. How we're not pretty when we cry. Lacey applies makeup to Jay's corpse, pretty much defiling her memory just to cope. First lipstick, then some eyeshadow, and she looks fabulous, clearly. We cut back to the interview, but it's different. The colors are inverted, the background has eyes everywhere, and Grace talks about how Jay kept showing up dead in other games. Grace says that she couldn't stop Rocio, that she was too weird, and so Grace just left, that it wasn't her business as an image of Lacey slowly comes into view, just for static to cover the screen. And then we learn.
But aren't you a little bit curious? I mean, the way she just vanished and all. Doesn't this spooky mystery excite you?
Okay, maybe just a little bit. Maybe. You know what? Fine. Let's find out what episode.
Rocio is missing. We get Lacey one more time, singing a goodbye song for Jay, or maybe Rocio herself. It flashes a bunch of images and turns to static before it all goes black, finally ending this nightmare. As of writing this video, that's the last Lacey Flash Games episode, and honestly, it kind of feels like an ending of sorts. We finally got to see the site where these games are from, we got to see what the creator looks like and her name, it explains what happened between Rocio and Grace, gave our player a name to go off of, as well as explaining Charlie's motivations. Hell, on a production level, this definitely feels like a peak. If this was the ending to Lacey's Flash Games, it would be a very satisfying one, ending on the cliffhanger that the creator is still missing and most likely will never be found. But other than that, why am I so dead set on this being the finale to Lacey's Flash Games? Well, not just because this video came out 2 years ago, not just because they moved on to another series, but there's another, newer Lacey series that is just starting. But before we get to that, let's talk about the main series for just a little longer. So, Lacey, what's it about? Well, if you ask me, that answer is pretty easy. It's about the horror of womanhood. These videos cover themes like stalking, the lifelong effects of abuse, abusers in general, and the cycle of abuse, and the need to be feminine, and, of course, women beauty standards. These are all things that largely happen to women, though it can happen to other groups. Now, I do not have enough experience with womanhood to speak on it. I'm new to this whole being a girl thing, after all, but I will say that there being a popular horror series about womanhood trauma is really cool, and it's really well done, too. How these all seem like fun Flash games that I would want to play speaks volumes to how well done in each and every video truly is. And of course there's the horror element, which is just spectacular, and I could talk about that for hours. It is truly a great series that I adore, but that doesn't mean we're through with Lacey, because now we get to talk about the Webisodes! Now, Lacey's Webisodes is fairly new, all things considered, being an in-universe web series all about Lacey and her friends. There are currently 3 episodes, both totaling around a minute and a half of content. Now, sadly, there isn't much to say about these webisodes outside of this stunning animation, as the videos don't really say all that new, or really say anything at all. The first one, Lacey Cam, we see Lacey as she sets up a webcam and tries on filters, with Maisie and Jay in the background before Lacey sneezes and they shut it off. Outside of some flashes, that's pretty much it. And the second one is even worse in that regard. Jay is skateboarding, spots Maisie, does some tricks, and then crashes into a bush. There's a flash to Jay's dead body, but other than that, there's really nothing. Okay, so after I finished writing this and was about to start recording, a third webisode just came out. Not only that, but a webisode that was based on the original Lacey's wardrobe. So I watched it, and interestingly, there's also nothing. We see a few cute outfits, Jay shows up, and then Lacey decides that if they don't love her how she is normally, then they're not worth it. I mean, it's a cute message, but we don't even really know who the guy is. I mean, other than probably the stalker, because it's based on Lacey's wardrobe, but that's just a guess, really. Now, I know I'm kind of coming after this series a tiny bit, but that's mostly because I'm coming at this from the angle of someone who is expecting, like, some new scares or some new information, kind of like how the FNAF books work. You know, with those you get, like, a bunch of new spooky stories, and you also get some new information that can be tied to the main series. But in actuality, these are less the FNAF books and more the Class of 09 anime, where they're just supposed to be like fun adventures with the characters you like, and if you're not already a fan of the series, then these might not be for you. And in case it wasn't obvious enough, I am a very big fan of the Lacey series, so these are right up my alley. The writing is genuinely really good and pretty funny. The length makes these the perfect little bite-sized adventures you would see at the time, and the animation is just gorgeous. Seriously, I'm an animation major, so I kind of have to highlight it, but oh my god, the animation is so good and smooth and pretty. I can only imagine how much time it took to actually make these, because holy shit, it's so good. And these webisodes, above all else, are just charming, so don't get it twisted. I love Lacey's webisodes. But at the same time, this series really does seem like it just exists to give us fans some more Lacey content to make the wait a little bit easier. And the wait for what, you may ask? Well, the wait for the game. Lacey's Flash Games is the official video game adaptation of the Lacey's Flash Games series, and seems to be our main Lacey content for the time being. Now, at the time of writing this video, the full game hasn't come out yet, so we're just going to talk about the demo. But even still, I love this game, and the full version is one of my most anticipated releases ever, meaning I'll probably make a video about it when it comes out. But for now, let's see what we can find in this demo. It opens on Charlie hooked up to some machine, talking about how she has a paper due the next day, before Grace turns the machine on, hooking her up to a computer where we're met with LaceyGames.com. This game plays in multiple windows, as you can see, kinda giving off the vibe of you're going through Flashpoint or some other site that opens up windows, so maybe like Newgrounds or something. But this means I had to play in display mode, so it might be a little hard to see the stuff. No worries though. Now, the games themselves are pretty similar to they are in the videos. Lacey's wardrobe is pretty much one-to-one with the video, and Lacey's pet shop has a few minor differences, like the ending being more ambiguous as to what happened to the uncle. But, for the most part, these two games are the same as they are in the videos. The enjoyment not being of figuring everything out for the first time, but finally being able to play these amazing pieces of horror. Though once you know what happens, it does feel a little bit scripted. This also introduces a bit of a puzzle element to the game, because you have to actively find the creepy element of each of the Flash games in order to move on to the next one. So this involves clicking around the site, looking at specific things here and there, even using the lore from the previous games. It's really complex and honestly really cool. This also means that everything you find is important in some way, making the site incredibly important to your progression rather than just set dressing, which again, really fucking cool. But there is one more game here, unlocked after you beat the other two, Lacey's Love Meter. Now, this one is interesting, as it's apparently the very first game Rocio and Grace made together, and man does it feel like it. It's just a simple love meter where you type the name in both the boxes, click the heart button, and watch the percentage determine if you're compatible or not. It's pretty glitchy and there are some Easter eggs you can find, but the big one is what happens when you put Lacey and Uncle in the boxes. The placement of this game is a bit hazy, but I believe it takes place right after the final video of the Flash game series, with the end of that video having both Charlie and Grace agreeing that they want to find out what happened, and treat it like a mystery. It's clear through both this game and that video that both Charlie and Grace don't really care about Rocio that much, with Charlie treating the whole thing like content and Grace just deciding that it's none of her business. There's something so tragic about how the only hope of Rocio being found relies on two people that don't give a shit about her at all, but we'll just have to wait for the full version to see what happens with it. But yeah, that's the Lacey series so far, and hell yeah, it's really good. The game is fantastic, the videos are all amazing, and the webisodes are all charming. It makes a lot of sense that this franchise blew up how it did, as well as helping digital horror become more mainstream. I mean, when you think about it, this is kind of the perfect representation of what digital horror is. How they play on the nostalgia of the digital age to present something that feels much more raw and personal as horror, really shaking you to the core. It's really good. So good in fact that it would spawn a whole suite of copycats and fan content. There were so many videos trying to do this in so many different ways that it pretty much cultivated a new subgenre. There were even other games like 98XX, and while most of these weren't as good as Lacey, they were still super fun to see. Hell, there's even one made by the creator of the Macabre Experiment, but there's already a pretty good video focused solely on the copycats, so I'll just cover one piece of fan content regarding Lacey, with the one I chose being the standalone Lacey's Wardrobe fan game. This game was on Steam, I want to say in between Lacey's Pet Shop and the deep dive into LaceyGames.com, and it blew the fuck up at the time. You have to keep in mind that this was the first time that there was a playable version of any of these videos. So people, mostly YouTubers, were on that shit. So much so that the creator actually asked them to take it down due to it getting more popular than the actual videos and not crediting her as the original creator or the original voice behind the stalker. Which, you know, kind of fair. If someone made a random Steam game based on my work and it blew up and they didn't credit me like at all at any point, then I would be pretty pissed as well. Also, I'm just gonna throw this in during recording, but I actually checked out the Steam page of this game, which number one, I didn't know you could do for like removed projects, but number two, another reason that it states that like it got taken down is because of Lacey's Flash games, and because Ghostura didn't want to have any kind of confusion between the two games. So, you know, another fair reason. I'm guessing that if this game were released on like Game Jolt or something, it wouldn't have got removed like at all, so kind of a blunder there, so or whatever. But I just so happen to still have it on my account, so we can keep moving. And as we'll get more into, I'm kind of glad this wasn't Lacey's legacy, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. The game opens up as the same way as the video, but there is a difference that on the third spin around, there's no gift to open. But oh well. We go through 3 phases, some scares and the same events, and just like in the video, Lacey gets eaten. Boom, done. Ending 1 completed. Wait, what? As you've probably figured out, there's more to this game than it initially seems, with there being 6 endings in total. However, most of those endings are fail-safes where Lacey dies, so I'll just take you on the journey to get the final 2 endings, with the first step in the journey being to save Lacey from getting eaten. How do you do that, you may ask? Well, see those new clothing options? Things like a hoodie, sweatpants, winter hat, and sunglasses? Yeah, put all those on Lacey, as well as those red sneakers. If you did it right, the text box normally saying, "What have you done?" is blank. Congratulations, Lacey is saved, for now. The next day, Lacey needs to get ready to go out with her friend. You don't have to dress a certain way, but this time you'll get a pop-up instead saying that you have a gift on your doorstep. This is where the original gift was placed, but unlike the video, if you say yes, the stalker will get into the house and kill Lacey in a pretty unnerving scene. So it's best to just say no to the gift and go out with your friend, which is actually the dog girl from Lacey's pet shop in a surprising Yuri ship that, could work out. And now, the most difficult part of the whole game, that honestly still isn't very hard. Lacey needs to get ready for a party where she needs to wear all red. But the catch is that the stalker is actively trying to break in, giving you 15 seconds to dress Lacey up and get out of the house. Failing to do so leads to another ending where she dies in a kind of try-hardy scene, honestly. But success means that Lacey gets to live another day, with the next one being another day where you have to dress up Lacey any kind of way you want, as she needs to get ready for her friend's funeral. Oh. Styling Lacey up to mourn the cunty way leads to a moment where you need to dress your friend's corpse. Now this scene leads to another branching path depending on what you do. Dressing the friend modestly will have the funeral go as planned, where Lacey then goes home. But suddenly, there's fire, and Lacey dies yet again by probably the stalker. This is fucking ridiculous. However, dressing the friend up in a swimsuit pisses off the family and makes it so Lacey is forced to leave early. This triggers a different scene where Lacey starts to talk to you directly, asking for your name before saying that she found a way to escape. She begs you to close the game, and this is where you can choose between the 2 final and most conclusive endings of the game. If you ignore Lacey and dress her up, the game will close on its own, and opening it again leads to this version of the title screen. Lacey trapped forever in a cycle of constantly dying. However, if you comply with Lacey and actually close the game, this time when you reopen it, Lacey will be gone, having escaped the constant suffering and is finally free, ending Lacey's wardrobe. Right, so that was fun, and I have some thoughts. As a standalone horror experience, it's fine. It does what it needs to do, has some creepy moments and a conclusive ending, it works. But, as an adaptation of Lacey's wardrobe, this is stupid. Now, a little disclaimer here, I do not like the creepypasta spooky EXE angle of writing stories. I think the thing but haunted and thing but characters are alive is overdone and rarely done in an interesting way.
But this style of storytelling absolutely doesn't work when adapting Lacey.
Like, good example, the main horror of the video version of Lacey's Wardrobe was that there was no way to help Lacey. There was just no other option than to send her to her death, so the admittedly rather linear story works well there because it's the only option. Here, if you get any of the endings where she dies, it just doesn't feel like that. Instead, it feels like, oh, well, tough luck, numbnuts. Guess you gotta try again and do better for a better ending. Fuck you. It just highlights how linear the story is. Either you do it right and continue, or you do it wrong and get an ending where Lacey dies. And of course, this isn't helped by the fact that there's a literal Lacey death counter in the main menu, basically counting all the times you fucked up, or, oh, sorry, got a bad ending. And the new death scenes? Sure, conceptually they work as other moments that have the same outcome as the original, but the thing that made the original ending work was that sure, it was gory, yeah, it felt raw, but there was also restraint. We only saw flashes of what happened, with the stalker then telling us what he did to her, and that makes the moment hit harder. The second death scene kind of gets this, even if it's still a little much, but the third and fourth ones absolutely do not. The third one, as I've said, tries way too hard to be creepy, and the fourth one is just goofy, as I've also said. Other moments too, like dressing up a corpse, is impossible to take seriously because, well, look at it. The game just isn't scary like the video is. And hey, I'll let you in on a little secret. A game not being scary isn't always a bad thing. But it's a kind of a fucking problem when it's a horror game that isn't scary. And the red party is just cheap, man. I know I said it was easy, but putting a time limit with no explanation as to what you need to do, and you gotta go with this one specific thing, otherwise you die as the game actively fucks with you, like, it's just a cheap way to create tension. There's no way around it. And that just goes into how frustrating the game itself is at times. Like, there's almost zero explanation as to how to get the other actual endings. How do you know what clothes to pick out to initially save Lacey? How do you know what to do to leave early at the funeral? How do you know what scenes you can dress her however you want and what scenes you need to have her in a specific outfit? The game rarely ever tells you any of these things and doesn't even give clues. It's all up to trial and error. And when the error means having to start all over again, yeah, that doesn't feel great. It's just frustrating. So much so that whenever I play this game, I have to have a guide ready to know what I'm supposed to even do to get the only endings that really matter. And while we're on the endings, the final ones are just jarring. To have Lacey suddenly talking to you and giving you a ham-fisted good ending or bad ending choice completely breaks the entire point of the original video. Now, when you can't help Lacey, it's because you didn't make the right choice or did something wrong. And yeah, that's just annoying. And the fact that Lacey is a trapped character in a game is so much less compelling than the story of a mentally disturbed creator that went missing. It almost does a disservice to the original videos and what they were trying to do just so they could do another EXE creepypasta story. And that's just a real shame. Now, I know that it seems like I'm being too harsh to a fan project made out of love, but you have to understand this was the most popular Lacey thing at the time. It had to get taken down because people were thinking that this was Lacey instead of the videos, the webisodes, or the official game. This is what people knew Lacey for during that time, when it just doesn't reach the standards of the original video or even the videos that came after it. Now, if you like this game, more power to you, but for me, personally, it just isn't scary or interesting enough for me to be able to see past all the flaws that make this inferior to the videos it's based on. Like I said before, I'm ultimately kind of glad this game isn't the series' legacy, because now people know Lacey for the much scarier and all in all better content of the main series. But hey, it's fun to talk about at least, and ultimately, we've seemed to have talked about everything that I had planned to talk about. This was a fun journey through a horror series I like a lot. These videos are all fantastic, and the games aren't too shabby either, and I hope you're as excited for the game as I am. But yeah, Lacey is awesome, you should experience it, watch Lacey's Flash games, watch the webisodes, play the games, play Lacey's Wardrobe if you still have that on your account, and I hope I'll see you in the next thing I end up making, which, I'm not gonna lie, is probably gonna be more fighting game stuff, or fighting game characters, or Class of 09, so, yeah, be prepared for any one of those things. Alright, see ya.